Hi everyone, good evening. It's Danielle. I just wanted to make an apology video for not doing videos in a while, and I wanted to express what's been going on with my content this year and why I haven't done so many videos and what my plans are for moving forward and what my plans are for moving forward and what the next stages are and what's gone wrong and why it went wrong, and to express again apologies to Blacketts and the medical team over there, especially Dr. Green, for letting them all down and for allowing this misinterpretation to happen. And I wanted to explain what had happened, and just a little bit of a disclaimer, it will be getting a bit upsetting at some point because it always does, and I want to get into it and express my gratitude and my appreciation as well. I wanted to say that the time with Blacketts was the happiest and more stable, consistent year that I'd had with a doctor, especially Dr. Green. And for 35 years before I'd registered with Blacketts, I had this vision and this dream of what I wanted from a perfect doctor, how I wanted my care, how I wanted to move forward with my life. And I am asking doctors and that at the time, or begging my practices at the time, look, I want a female doctor. I'm more comfortable with females. I'll make it work with a female. And they're like, you'll never get a female. You'll never get a female doctor. And I felt intimidated by men, and I felt intimidated by men. I felt like male doctors were trying to manipulate me and push me into being the person that I didn't want to be, that didn't understand me. And I have been put on special education in the past because people don't understand the autism or the intrusive thoughts. And I remember when I registered with Blacketts, and making that first appointment, I was in Portugal in 2025, and I'd rang the doctor's surgery and spoke to Haley. I remembered where I was at that hotel when I made the first appointment with Haley for Dr. Green, because I was at that hotel the next year, and I remembered where I was on the phone to Haley making that first appointment with Dr. Green, and how it changed my life for the better. And when I made that appointment, when I spoke to Haley, I'm like, is she a nice doctor? Is she a nice doctor? And is she, I'm more comfortable talking to females and that kind of thing. And I was given the chance, and I was given the chance, and I didn't get, I'm telling myself before I meet her before I get the appointment, that I need to be more realistic with my expectations, with my expectations, and with my expectations, because I'm not going to get that perfect doctor. I'm not going to get what I want. And I was right, but for ways that I could never have imagined. The care that Dr. Green gave me and Blacketts was far more magical, powerful, meaningful, therapeutic, and grounding than anything that I could have imagined, anything that I could have hoped for, anything that I could have dreamt about. And I knew when I first met Dr. Green that she was going to be different, that the connection was going to be there, that it felt right with her, that I didn't have to be something that I wasn't, and I didn't have to be something that I didn't have to be. I didn't have to force myself. I didn't have to force myself to be the person that I didn't want to be in front of Dr. Green. And Dr. Green never saw me upset in a crisis, and that kind of thing. She'd heard about it, but Dr. Green always got the real me, the me that I wanted to show professionals, the me that I wanted to bring out. And Dr. Green was really good with the boundaries and warning me and working with me through problems in the past. And it still happens today that people believe that you need to be strict and firm. But Dr. Green wasn't wasn't like that. She was very softly spoken and very gentle, and she wanted to know what the problem was, how I can work through that problem, and how I can work through that problem. And she was the first professional as well to look at a communication therapist's reports, to want to get her communication style right with me before she'd even met me. And she was the first one to do that. And for that, I couldn't be any more grateful. And I have memories with Blacketts, with the practice, that I haven't had before with any other doctor's surgeries. With other doctor's surgeries before, I've always remembered the negatives, what people have said to me that's negative and upsetting. And I really valued the care from Dr. Green and everyone I did. I remember the first appointments that I had individually with every member of staff. I remember the first time that I saw Dr. Green. I remember that Sarah was in the room, the nurse, and I remember that she wanted to discuss the transition with me and get to know the real me. She couldn't do the driving license or anything because she needed to know the real me first. She wanted to know the real me and get to know me. And I remember the first time that I saw Dr. Hardy as well, and that didn't really go well because it went all right with Dr. Hardy, but I remember that appointment. I remember being to James Cook the week before for my stomach and that, and I'd been to James Cook twice that week. Bloods had been raised on the Monday, and they dropped again the Thursday, and then I'm like, you need to go back. You need to go to your doctors. You need to start utilising your doctors. You've got supportive doctors now. Just try using them. So I remember I was running a bit late because I had to get there through rush hour, and she was running late as well. I had my beige jumper dress on, hat, scarf, and gloves. It was the 9th of December 2024. And I had a temperature of 37.6, and I thought it was because I had a jumper dress on and hat, scarf, and gloves, and had the heating on. And I did. I remember getting home. Therefore, it was my anxiety, and I thought it was my anxiety. I remember getting home. I'd had my laptop on here, and not the laptop that I've got now, but I had my laptop on there, and I'm like, I can't concentrate on my laptop. I couldn't stay awake. That night, I felt sick where I had to be hand down my throat and make myself sick, and I had a temperature of 37. I had a temperature of 38 and a heart rate of 140. That night, paramedics came, ended up in A&E, got there about 11, wait, TV on the wall, waiting time to see a doctor. Waiting time to see a doctor. Waiting time to see a doctor was 11 hours. I knew the earliest I'd see a doctor was I knew the earliest I'd see a doctor was I knew the earliest I'd see a doctor was I knew the earliest that I'd see a doctor was going to be 10 in the morning because of 11 hours. I got called at 1:41 in the morning saying that they need to put me in a cubicle of my own. I knew then that they were going to keep me in, and the day I was in about a week, I had glandular fever or something, and I remember the first time that I saw the nurse as well, Sarah as well. I remember that I was going in for my iron bloods, and Dr. Green had increased trazodone in that the week before, and I ended up in hospital on the Friday night with a little bit of jaundice, and a little bit of jaundice. Ended up in hospital on the Sunday night with a little bit of jaundice. They said on the discharge in that they wanted me to get a follow-up bloods with my doctors and that, and I'm like, if you give me the paperwork, I'm going to be walking past the doctors anyway, going back into town, and I've got an appointment with the nurse this week anyway, so I'll get them to put that on. So they did, and Nicola Rudd came to see me in the waiting area. We noticed Dr. Green's running a little bit late. She didn't realise that I'd had an appointment with a nurse, and the nurse didn't realise that I had to be chaperoned. And that was the first time that I saw the nurse. And I remember Dr. Hardy had a trainee doctor with her the first time that I saw her as well. I remember that there was one time I'd been to A&E and in A&E all night and had a telephone appointment with the doctor, and I'm like, who's this doctor? So I looked and it was a man, and Dr. Hardy had cancelled that appointment and made me an appointment with her because she knew that I was uncomfortable talking to men, and I am. I'm uncomfortable talking to men. I remember getting my driving license and that back as well. I remember getting my driving license back and that as well. I remember the appointment that I had with Dr. Green, and she said that her and the partners were going to support me getting the driving license back. I remember the Wednesday after that appointment, walking around my flat, looking out of my bedroom window there, saying to myself that in the right circumstances, this letter should be enough to get my driving license back. And I'm going and tell myself, look, you need to be more realistic with your expectations. You need to be more realistic with your expectations. You're not going to get what you want, and there's going to be more checks. I remember the next day I got up and I was still in bed, and I got a phone call to say that it was a DVLA. I knew then what it was about, and they're like, yeah, we're going to support you getting your license and that back. And I remembered I really wanted Dr. Green to be the first person that I told that I got my license back, and I remember ringing the practice and telling Nicola and that kind of thing, but I really wanted to tell Dr. Green before the next appointment, and I went in to see Dr. Hardy about something else, and I remember being in the waiting area, and telling people that no, I remember being in the waiting area and it's going in the back of my head, knock on Dr. Green's door, tell her that you got your license back, and I'm like, if you can't do that, there's boundaries, she might be with a patient, and that kind of thing. And I didn't need to, because she passed me in the corridor, and I remember what she'd said and the outfit she'd had on, but memories like that and about profession breaking boundaries for me, they're about how meaningful it was to be understood by your doctor, be understood by your doctor's surgery, having that team behind me that could push me forward and that could get the best out of myself. Genuinely, hand on heart, that first year with Dr. Green was the happiest, most stable period of my life, especially with a doctor. And Dr. Green had something from me that she Dr. Green got things from me that that I could not do with what I could not do with any other professional before. And by what I mean is, she got the real me every time that she saw me. She got the me that I wanted to be. She got the me that I wanted to bring out, that I wanted to show the world. Dr. Green also gave me that passion, that drive to get things perfect, to get things perfect, to be perfect, to be the best of my, to be the best, to be the best, to be the best that I can be. However, that's what became my downfall, because I wanted to be perfect in that for Dr. Green. The last time that I was supposed to see Dr. Green will have been working together officially over a year. We'll have been working together officially over a year, and I wanted to show Dr. Green that I can do it, that I can get it perfect. I wanted to go between the last appointment and that appointment that I was supposed to attend to say to her, look, we'll have been working together, we've been officially working together over a year. I've got it perfect. I've got it perfect. No boundaries, no police, no ambulances, no welfare calls. I remember being on holiday in Portugal again, and I had some questions and that for it before, whilst I was on holiday, and my CPN was okay with the questions. I was okay. I remember being sat on the couch on the the Monday night, and looking at my phone, and I'm like, don't you dare think about it. There's less than 2 days left. You're going to get this perfect for Dr. Green. I remember shortly afterwards looking at my laptop and getting an email from Sarah to say them questions were boundary related, and that kind of thing. And I didn't know why they were boundary related, and spoke to Natalie the next day and she didn't realise they were boundary related. And when I got that email from Sarah, from the manager, I felt sick. I felt punched in the stomach. I felt a failure because I'd been trying all year to go to see Dr. Green and go, look, I've got it perfect. I got it perfect. I got it perfect. It's sinking in. It was the closest that I'd ever got to doing it, and I knew exactly on the Monday night what Dr. Green's exact words would be to me when I was starting to get fixated on it. I knew exactly what she'd be saying. She'd be telling me that it's making me ill, that I need to discuss it with her. And I got hyper fixated on it that much. And when I'm in a state like that, when I'm in a hyper fixated state and I'm upset and distressed, if I'm upset or distressed with something that I've done, if I'm upset or distressed or worried about an appointment or worried about someone else, intrusive thoughts kick in. I get dreams about it. I had a dream on the morning of the appointment of wanting to come in to slit my throat open in front of my doctor because I was that angry with myself and I was that upset. In my dream, I was walking down near where the doctors were. The clock on the wall said 9:10. I'd turn left just after there, went to the doctors, and I was going to ask if it'd be okay to bring a knife in to my appointment to slit my throat open in front of my doctor. I woke up before I'd even got to the doctor's surgery. However, when I get dreams like that, they become very real to me, very realistic. I start questioning what's reality, what's reality and what isn't, and I start questioning what my own intention is because of what has been inbuilt into the back of my mind in the past. Where in the past I've had dreams before and anxiety attached triggered by dreams, and paramedics have been out and they've been told by crisis services that they have to report me to the police because of a dream, because of the thought process and that being there. And I'd contacted other organisations because I was panicking. Why was I panicking? Why was I panicking? Why didn't I contact the doctor's surgery? Because I was scared that I didn't want the practice to see me upset, distressed. I was scared of how my intrusive thoughts and feelings would be perceived. I was scared that I'd get put on special allocation, and I was scared, and most importantly, I was scared of losing the best doctor that I'd ever had. And I tried to prevent what had happening, and I'd rang other doctors, other organisations, yes, because I was genuinely scared and in fear because of a dream that I'd had. I knew deep down that I wasn't going to go in with a knife, Why did the dreams also scare me so much? Hand on heart, the dreams also scared me so much because out of everyone that I've worked with, out of everyone that I've had involved in my care, out of everyone that's been involved in my life, whether that's professional or whether that's personal, Dr. Green is at the very, very, very bottom of the list of who I'd want to self-harm in front of, or who I'd want to harm. Dr. Green is at the top of my list of wanting to give a hug, but yet again there's boundaries in place, and I need to be professional with a doctor, but yeah, yeah. So I'd rang when I'd finally got through safeguarding. When I'd finally got through to safeguarding, incorrect information had been put back to the practice, and staff were in fear that I was going in with a knife. I got a text that day to say because of my intended actions that they called the police, and if it turned up, they were going to, because of my intended actions, they were going to call the police, and if it turned up, they were going to call the police. My intended actions at the time were to get help and to try to clarify the anxiety that I had because of a dream, and I was scared of how my actions would affect the practice, and I didn't want to lose that happiest year of stability because of it. I know, hand on heart, deep down, if I had gone into the doctor's surgery and stated to Dr. Green direct and said, look, I'm worried about an email that I'd had from the manager. I'm worried about letting you down. I feel like I've let you down. I feel like a failure. I was this close to doing this, this close to doing that. Dr. Green would have wanted to discuss it with me. She would have wanted me to discuss it with me. Dr. Green won't have minded that I wasn't perfect. Dr. Green won't have been bothered that I couldn't get the appointment perfect for it. She would have mainly been bothered that she would have rather me have discussed my anxiety and discussed the problems with her rather than getting it, rather than get, rather than what had actually happened. Dr. Green would have wanted me to discuss, would have wanted, would have wanted me to have come in and tell her, look, I was worried about an appointment. I felt like I let you down. I felt like a failure. I had a dream of self-harming in front of you. She would have rather me have done that than what had actually happened. And I want to clarify why I find it so hard to talk to Dr. Green and why I'm scared of working with Dr. Green. In the past, I have worked with professionals and males and other professionals, and when there's been problems, and when there's been problems, and when I have tried highlighting issues, I've been told that I've been demanding and critical of the care. I've been made to feel intimidated. I have been made to feel intimidated. I don't feel like I can be myself in front of other people. I know deep down that Dr. Green's not like that. I know that she would have wanted me to have discussed the problem with her. And the most important reason why I am scared of working with Dr. Green is because, and I've never had this before, is because I really valued her as a doctor. I really value Dr. Green as a doctor. I am scared. I am scared that I'll say something that that'll upset her, that'll upset her, that'll cross the mark or boundaries that will put her off working with me. I'm scared of what my own actions could do to upset or hurt Dr. Green in some way that I'd end up losing a care. And I that's why I didn't ring the doctor's surgery that day, because I was scared of my intrusive thoughts and the dream that I'd had being misinterpreted by the practice, and I'd lose the happiest year of my life. However, trying to put all safeguarding in place, trying to put all preventative measures in place, had ended up ruining the relationship anyway. And I'm so sorry to the admin staff that picked up them phone calls. I'm so sorry to all the admin staff that had picked up them phone calls that were giving inaccurate information. I did try to clarify it with the practice. I'd emailed the practice that night and explained the full situation. However, I tried getting my communication therapist involved again. The next day, I'd safeguarding had emailed the doctors again to clarify what had actually happened. I am trying to understand why it's worked so well with Dr. Green, and that I am trying to get my communication therapist back involved. I wanted her to do the boundary work with me and the practice to try to understand what's gone wrong with the communication, why it's gone wrong, to try to save everything. I'd paid £75 out of my own money, and I had sent evidence over to the practice. I tried all of that on the Monday, I'd logged on to eConsults, I'd logged on to the NHS app, and I no longer had a doctor's surgery anymore. I was that heartbroken and that upset. I'd eaten a key in a hospital. I was at North Tees Hospital and I'd eaten the key at A&E. It had to be surgically removed. They'd x-rayed me and said it hadn't, and said it had gone past my stomach. And an ambulance came the next day and took me to A&E. They'd x-rayed me at another hospital and it had to be surgically removed. That night that I got the key surgically removed, I was drowsy. I was in the bedroom, and I have to get side room at certain hospitals with the transition and other stuff. I came out then on the 23rd of December as wanting to be Danielle. Why are things going wrong in my life? Why most of my closest friends were female anyway, more or less, but why are things going wrong in my life? Why are things going wrong? And it's like I let the fear overrule. I let the fear overrule my life, and that's what causes breakdown in communications and things to go wrong. I had came out that night that I wanted to be female, that I wanted to be Danielle. 3rd of January, I'd had the deep hole and that witness to change my name, and on the 5th of January, I'd started hormones and everything as well. In March, I had been sectioned because I fought my heart out to try to get the misunderstanding clarified. I threw everything at trying to repair everything, including the kitchen sink, and it physically and mentally drained me. And I took 2 massive overdoses in 6 days. I took 2 lots of 96 paracetamol. The NHS paperwork that I've got at the moment says 32, but it wasn't. It was 96. First time I nearly ended up at the Freeman in critical care for my liver, and whilst I was in hospital, I'd made an emotional video that I'd made an emotional video that to apologise to Blacketts and that again, to Dr. Green that again. This was whilst I was in hospital, 2 days after I got discharged from hospital after that overdose again. No, 2 days after that video was made, I was discharged. On the day discharged, I'd overdosed again. I ended up in resus then, and a couple of months later, about when I was in for something else, the nurses, the healthcare assistant, said that she wasn't expecting me to come round after that. And 2 days before, whilst I was in hospital, there was 2 days after the second overdose attempt where I was refusing treatment, I was refusing to speak, I was getting upset, and I hadn't had anything to eat and drink for 2 days nearly. There was one day where I'd only had 1 drink, and it had my medication in, and every time my phone rang, every time I looked at the corner of the room, every time I heard someone say my name, I just wanted it to be Dr. Green again, so that I could tell how sorry that I am, how much I value her as a doctor, and how much I appreciate her and Blacketts. And he ended up getting sectioned by a social worker that knows me more than any professional. That room that I got sectioned in as well was the room that I got sectioned in was the same room that came out as being Danielle in. And I I I it really shook me up, uh, and it really upsets me because I've ended up letting a doctor's surgery down that I really valued, that I felt safe at, I felt understood at, because I was that worried about getting things perfect with my doctor, about getting things. I was worried about getting things perfect for my doctor, and because I couldn't get it perfect because I'd hyperfixated, meant that my intrusive thoughts were misinterpreted again. And there is times now, has been times as well, where I've been in town and I look over at the other side of the road, or look at people passing me, and there's been someone in town from the surgery that's passed me, and I'm not saying the names, but it has, and I get really upset and I walk away. I don't think that they've saw me. I've not spoke to them, and it's ironic, really, because it's always been a Wednesday that I've bumped into them. It's always been a Wednesday that I saw them with me and Dr. Green. That out of, and I mean this, hand on heart, I mean this, out of all of the relationships that I've had, whether that's professional, whether that's personal, out of all the mistakes that I've made, out of all the misunderstandings that have happened, and I'm talking about my whole life, this is the one that I want to repair the most. The care with Blacketts and Dr. Green is the care that I've been the most passionate about, the care that understood me the most. And I'm not prepared to lose that without a fight, without giving it everything. And I have. I've given it. I've given it everything. I said that I was going to be fighting it with everything, and I nearly ended up fighting it with my life because the pressure got to me, the emotional pain, the physical pain got to me. I'd started overdosing cope, and I keep thinking, I keep looking back. Is there anything else that I could have done to try to fight this harder, to try to get the misunderstanding clarified in that? And I'm like, no, there's not. I've thrown everything at it, including the kitchen sink. I've gone through the ombudsman. I've tried getting the story sold to newspapers. I've tried contacting radios. I've tried everything. If Jeremy Kyle was still about, I would have taken this to Jeremy Kyle. I tried. And I just want a chance to show how sorry I am, how much I appreciated the care, how much it means to me. I want a chance to be able to show exactly what it means to me. I don't want to be looking like I don't want to be looking like I'm talking the talk on all the videos I've made this year. I want to be walking the walk as well. I want to be able to show what I can do. I want to be able to give it my best, and to get this right, I'm not going to be, I know that I need to focus on, if it is to work again, I know that I need to focus on getting to know Dr. Green again and being more open with Dr. Green, because how can Dr. Green be that amazing doctor that I'm talking about, that I value so much, if she doesn't know what's going on, if she doesn't know what's going on and how I'm feeling, in order for her to do a job properly? It can't work unless I'm more open to it, to doing that. I know, I know deep down that I can get it perfect for Dr. Green. I know that I can learn. I know that I can get it perfect, but I need to not focus so much on getting it perfect. Being perfect would come, but I need to focus on getting that communication right and being able to tell Dr. Green if there's a problem, that there is a problem, and that's really upsetting me. That's been the most emotional part of my year. That's been the most emotional part of the year, where it's gone wrong and why it's gone wrong. However, I am trying to put things in place to resolve this. I have some plans that I'm looking into, that I haven't decided yet if they're going to be functional or not, if they're going to work or not. I am looking at doing something creative. I'm got my name down for a creative writing group, and I've got my name down for performing arts level 1, which I'm looking into. I've got an interview for the college course, performing arts level 1. However, I need to work out what's going to be financially viable and what's going to be viable in the long run. However, I do want to be able to do things that give me a bit more flexibility and a bit more consistency with being creative, because I need to be able to express myself in a much more creative way. I need to be able to get my words out and get my feelings out a bit more structurally, a bit more groundingly, a little bit more creative, so that they're not misinterpreting that as much. I am trying to get some ideas together back with my mental health team, with my care team. However, there is some problems with that, like bit of miscommunication, and I don't feel like at the moment I can emotionally regulate properly when I'm speaking to them on the phone. I don't feel like I can do that. Just part of it is my CPN's off ill, and there's mixed messages with the communication when I'm contacting them. There's some people saying that they're going to put a message down and get this person to ring me back, and then that person to ring back, but then this person or that person don't know that they were supposed to ring me and don't know anything about it. Then someone else said that can only be contacting them on a Monday, and it's hair pulling out moment. But have put letters in of concern about that, and I just need to take a bit of a step back with that. I have hand on heart messaged my social workers to see if they want to meet for a coffee or a drink and that sometime. And however, that I believe that they're off as well. And I have got an appointment booked in next week with my communication therapist just to try to see about getting my communication back on track, trying to understand where it's going wrong with the communication at my end. And it is it is going wrong with communication, and I have paid or will be paying £75 for the next session with her. So she's autistic as well, and I don't mind paying that. I know that she said that I've been getting a little bit more distressed recently and that kind of thing. However, part of the reason why I've been getting a bit more upset and distressed is the fact that the mental health team had increased some medication or tried me on some PRN, lorazepam and zopiclone, but it didn't agree with me, and I was more tired during the day, and I was like slurring my words to the point where people on the crisis team were like, have I taken something? Have I overdosed? Am I intoxicated? And then the doctors are like, have you had a stroke? You don't normally speak like this. So that medication's out of my system. I did have to go to A&E quite a few times last week to get that resolved, but the last doctor that I'd had, it was a little bit annoying really, because A&E were telling me to contact my doctors were telling me to go to A&E, and vicious circle. And the last doctor that I saw was lovely, and she'd clarified that her ideas were similar to mine. The drowsiness and the slurring of the words were because of the medication that I'd been trying and the extra medication. Also, I was talking about the chest pain and the anxiety pain. And she was normally, when I get the anxiety pain, it's left sided, but been getting it around there as well. But she believes, and I believe, that the chest pain is to do with the girls getting bigger and the twins getting bigger, because that they do look quite noticeable now on changing and that kind of thing. And the last night on holiday, I had been looking in the mirror, and I had been looking in the mirror, and I noticed that they were getting a bit bigger, and they are getting a bit more sensitive on and off. So there's all that. There's all of that. There's all of everything that's gone wrong. Also, me trying to please other people has ended up is going to cost me about 350 to 400 pound, because my dad had been using my car earlier in the year because his was off the road until he bought a new car. And he'd messaged me a few weeks ago to say that I needed to get mine back on my drive and that kind of thing. But me not wanting to cause conflict with a neighbour parking on it has ended up meaning that my car's been scraped on the side, and my dad thought that it could just do with a smart repair, but it's going to need a full respray on the panel, and that's going to cost a little bit of money. But I've used that body shop and that before, and I've used that body shop and that before, so he's fine. So that's booked in for the 29th of October. and I have made music videos and that as well on YouTube when things were going wrong with the Ombudsman, and when things were going wrong with the Ombudsman, I didn't want to get into a state again where I was going to go and overdose on tablets, so I thought I'd express my feelings and that kind of thing a bit more creatively and a bit more creatively and a bit more openly, and it's called Late Night Apology if no one's seen it. It's on my channel, and I it's called Late Night Apology, and it's on my channel, and when another thing is, when they did increase my medication, and when they did change the medication in that mental health team, because of the way that they did it, because I was tired all the time, my upset, my distress was getting a bit more painful during the day, and it's like a bit more intolerable and that kind of thing. But it's still getting upset. I'm still crying and that during the day. I'm still getting a little bit teary and a little bit emotionally, but it's controllable again. I do want to also admit that I do have suicidal thoughts, that I do have thoughts of wanting to overdose and wanting to self-harm. However, I am not in a crisis. It's controllable. It's controllable. I'm trying to get plans back in place. I'm trying to put things in place whilst my care team are off. I've contacted the doctors a couple of times, the temporary doctors, just to try to explain to them what I want, and social services what I want from a communication therapist what I want. But things are going to take time. Things are going to take time. Things are going to be a little bit painful, but I need to be patient. I need to be understanding with everything. I need to give myself a little bit of breathing space. I need to start getting out again and enjoying Danielle again. I need to, however, when went to Tenerife on holiday a few weeks ago, and the day after I got back off holiday, I went and had my belly button pierced, and it was £50, and I'd got my eyebrows waxed as well, but the problem was that the eyebrows were red raw a couple of days later, but I've been using some of the aloe body lotion, and that's been helping massively. And that night when I got my belly button pierced and that, for the first time in several months, I did get that some sparkle back, some energy back, and started feeling like Danielle again. But it's not been consistent yet. It's not been consistent yet. But I just want to explain what's been going on with the channel recently, with me, with the mental health, with the gender, with different things. I am trying to work the hardest that I've ever worked to repair damages that have been misinterpreted, to try to get back to the good old days, to try to get some of that sparkle back, some of that energy back, some of that passion back as Danielle. But I'm looking at ideas and I'm looking at other options that might help. But thank you. Bye.